Okay, this is the screen for I3DStereoid. If you see around, we'll start with the bottom left. The little wizard cap there, that is a alignment button. The wizard cap that's in color makes sure the left and right images have the same color arrangements, which is big if you're using the built-in camera for the iPhones. The third button gets you into the menu for formatting. The fifth button gets you in, fits the image. If you start zooming and things and you want it to be screen width, that will work for that. Then the next button that says L and R is for reversing the image, especially if you're doing a cha-cha and you weren't able to do it correctly. You actually got the right image first, which can happen when you're traveling. The next is a format for ways you can see the image. The fifth is orientation. The sixth is sharing. And the seventh, the last button is for photograms. And that's a new button I'll tell you a little bit about towards the end. Let's just start with this image here, which says left, right, and this is his image. Let me see, it's probably aligned, but we'll press the align button. If you look at the top, it goes through these steps, and it shows you what the deviation is after it aligns it. Deviation 7.9%. That's pretty high. I try to stay at 3%, but maybe for something like Instagram, that would be proper. Now I'm going to press the button with the exclamation point on it on the bottom, and we'll see what that does. And you can see that changes the orientation, or can change the orientation. This is more for alignment if you're not happy with the auto alignment, or you have other things that you need to do. The buttons are pretty self-explanatory, but on an iPad or a phone like I'm on now, you can use the touch screen to move things. When you touch it, you can see, you can actually crop it. Say I wanted to crop it and just have the girl in the picture, I could do that. And then all I'm doing is clicking and dragging. You can't really see that, but here we go. Clicking and dragging. Okay, and then let's move. Say we're gonna do that, then we're gonna wanna change the window a little bit. Let's have her arm go out of the window. And then if you wanna finish the crop, you press, see where it says I3DStereoid on the upper left-hand corner. You press that and you get the cropped image. And that's side by side. So that's what you can do in that menu. The next menu that I'm going to show you is the way to display it. And you see here, there's a parallel image, a pair of eyes, and that's the image for parallel. So you have parallel. If you want to save it as cross-eyed, you press the next button. If you want to save it, I'm going to go over those next two buttons a little later. If you want to save it as an anaglyph, there's different types of anaglyph. Color, black and white, Dubois, blue, yellow, another color, blue, yellow. This is for a mirrored view. This is if you want mono, over or under. If you want to make a GIF, this is for if you have an auto stereoscopic screen. This is if you want it half viewed for viewing on a TV or something that uses squeezed half views. So I told you I was going to go back to these other two. Now, if you press, I'm going to press the first one, and that's one I use a lot. the one that looks like two long rectangles. I'm going to press that, and you see what it does? It curves the edges. Now, I set that up earlier, and the way I did that is by pressing on the upper right-hand corner. Let me do that again. So you can change the colors that you want in there for the background. A lot of times I like to use gray. You can change the border width, corners, how much rounded the corners are. Let me hit OK. You see I changed it to gray there. Let's go back to the main menu. Let's look at this one. That will flip it. That flips the orientation. The next one, that's the zoom feature. Or it's not actually zoom, it's more for if you're viewing it on a headset. If you see on the top, you can also flip it. Press that button, and that will change it as well. Oh, so if you're in this one, when you move your pad, it will move with you, or your phone. So if you have a little phone viewer, the other one you press, and it will actually work by touching the screen. So you see the little hand up there? You use that or not. I'm going to go back, and this is the rectangle. It needs to detect a rectangle. So when you go into settings, this will tell you whether you can use the phantogram setting. So I turn the phantogram setting on, and this is what you do here is put the dimensions, actually just the ratio of what your square is. So you carry a little cutout square. Barry gave a workshop on this in the New York Stereo Club, and he's going to give a workshop on it for our Stereo Club in September. So stay tuned for that. So you can do things like slide intervals, wiggle interval, how big you want the black band in the middle. This is all things that you can do. You can set up your own gallery and upload to it. I'll save that for later. You can also do eye marks, auto save photo from camera. That just saves the photo so you don't have to worry about saving it. High resolution for new iPad, which I have. So it does save in very high resolution. Use SPM auto adjustment. And then I3DPhotocam I have. On my iPad, it's not really useful because I don't have the double camera on the iPad, but I do use that on the iPhone. Let me show you another thing with that menu though. I'm pressing this. If you want to go to a web gallery, you can set up your own, but a lot of them are already set up. These are mostly from the original maker of Stereo Photo Maker and I3DStereoid. So a lot of scenes from Japan. So if you press the first one of any list, or actually any of them of any list, it will go to it. So here's his images. And I think they're viewing that way because that's the way I have it set up. If you press this, you get left and right on the top and right to left cross-eyed on the bottom. If you see the button that has the film around it, that's the slideshow button. So if you want to look at these as a slideshow, you can change that interval inside the program itself. If I'm working with this, let's say I do one of my own images and I want to do some work with it. What I would do is save this in a parallel image. I find that's usually the easiest to work with. Go back, I would save the stereo image, and that saves it to your camera roll. So let's say I want to use Snapseed, which is a free program. I open up the last image I opened up. So let's say I want to add a little pop to this or some effect. I can do that. What would I want to do? I don't want to do a frame. You don't want to do any effect that is going to do something different to the left and the right image. You're mostly doing image tuning and say I wanted to increase the saturation and then save it and then reopen it in stereo I3DStereoid. So I'm just going to show the camera app here, the building camera app, which is a little different than doing a cha-cha. You don't need the I3D camera program. Okay, one thing you should know, you need to hold your camera in the horizontal position. Okay, so we're going into the camera app. This is a camera app that is particular, just only works on the newer ones. If you look, you'll see the red-blue button on the side that you can use for photographing with the phone. If you hit that and go again, you will see that it changes into another mode. And this is where you can use the cha-cha. If you see the two screens on the left, that arrow will be pointing to those now. You can do a cha-cha shot. It's like this. It'll just be the shot from the two cameras on your phone. Okay, let's go ahead and do a shot that way. That's a little closer to what I might use. Plus it gives me a little more space for cropping. Okay. 3.1% deviation. That's a little better. Let's crop a little bit. If you remember from my earlier lesson, what do you press for cropping? It's the button with the exclamation point. This is just not exactly something I would enter in a contest. Okay, and then we press the corner where it says I3DStereoid. Let's hit that button again to match the color. And there you have it. Here, let's save it, curve it so it looks nice. Around the corners a little more. Thicker border. Okay. Let's say if you see that edge there, you see I have a little bit of that keyboard in there. Maybe I don't want that. So let me edit it a little more. To save, you hit the object that looks like a book in the upper left-hand corner. Save stereo image. We always save in original resolution. And now time for questions.